It's 3:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the morning. The London session just opened. You've been staring at the chart for about an hour. You spotted the setup last night. You marked the levels. You told yourself, "This time I'm going to be disciplined. This time I'm going to follow my plan." The setup forms. Clean. Everything lines up. You enter the trade. And for a few minutes, it moves your way. Your heart rate picks up. You start doing the math in your head. If this hits my target, that's enough to cover yesterday's loss. Maybe more. Then it stalls. Then it starts pulling back. You tell yourself, it's just a retracement. Hold. You planned for this. Your stop is there for a reason. But the pullback keeps going. Slowly at first, then faster. And something tightens in your chest. Your palms start sweating. Another loss? But you did everything right this time. So you move your stop. Just a little. Just to give it more room. But it kept going. Straight through where your stop was. Straight through the level you told yourself would never let it get to. You know you should have closed the trade but couldn't close it. Because closing it means admitting you were wrong again. So you sit there, watching, hoping, praying that it turns around. But it doesn't. Just when you're about to get wiped out completely, you manage to close the trade. Now the loss is way bigger than it should have been if you had closed it when you were supposed to. You sit back in your chair. The room feels quieter. You look at the screen, and the market just keeps moving, completely unbothered, completely indifferent, like you were never even there. And somewhere in the back of your mind, the question comes again. What is wrong with me? You may even start wondering if there is some secret about the market no one is telling you. But I am going to be brutally honest with you today, because what I'm going to share with you is not another strategy. It's not another indicator. It's not a better entry technique. It's something underneath all of that. Something that most traders spend years looking past. I had to lose everything to finally understand that the market was never the problem. I was the problem. It was uncomfortable for me to accept it at first, but I was forced to sit with it through experience. When I was working at Merrill Lynch, one of the most respected financial firms in Chicago, I had access to the financial market. I was obsessed with it. For several months, I watched how the market operated, and I was smart enough to notice some repeated price action that made me thought I understood the markets. I studied obsessively. I had strong opinions. Because I was surrounded by professionals who moved serious money every day. On paper, I looked like someone who had it figured it out. So I started trading my own account on the side. And I destroyed it, completely. So badly that I eventually had to file for personal bankruptcy. But I was still showing up to work every morning, still doing my job, still keeping a straight face, because I couldn't tell anyone what was happening. That silence was the loneliest thing I've ever carried. And sitting inside that silence and repeating the same mistake for years, I finally stopped asking the wrong question. I stopped asking, what strategy did I get wrong? Which indicator failed me? I started asking the only question that actually mattered. If I actually understood the market, why could I not trade it? That question changed everything. Here is what I found when I went looking for the answer. When you sit down at your screen to trade, you think you're just reading a chart. You're not. You are looking at the chart through a lens built from every single experience you've ever had. Every loss you've taken. Every time you were embarrassed for being wrong. Every time someone punished you for a mistake. Every belief you were handed about money, about success, about what it means to fail. All of that is sitting behind your eyes when you look at the chart. And the market doesn't care about any of it. The market just moves. It moves based on the collective actions of millions of participants, institutions, algorithms, hedge funds, retail traders, all acting in their own interest, all at the same time. It has no opinion about you. It doesn't care what you need. It is completely neutral. But you're not. You are just a human with decades of conditioning and deeply wired survival instincts. And every single day, you are sending that human nature of you, with all that baggage, into the most unstructured, ruleless environment that exists. That is the collision. That's what's actually happening when you move your stop, when you hold a loser too long, when you cut a winner too early, when you revenge trade after a bad session, when you freeze at the entry even though your setup is right there. It doesn't mean you aren't made for this. You are just doing exactly what every human being does when they step into an environment they were never designed for. I want you to think about every other area of your life besides trading. The school had rules. Study hard, get the grade. The work had rules. Hit your targets, follow the process, collect your salary at the end of the month. These rules are very predictable and almost certain. Even your relationships have an invisible logic to them. Effort tends to be noticed. Kindness tends to produce connection. Cause and effect, mostly. But the market has none of that. In the market, nobody tells you when to enter. Nobody stops you from holding a loser forever. Nobody caps your losses. Nobody rewards discipline with an immediate payout. You are completely free. And that freedom is the most dangerous thing a trader ever encounters. Because when there are no external rules, you must supply your own internal structure. You must become your own authority. And most people have never truly done that a single day in their lives. Think about that seriously. You spent your entire life inside structures that other people built. And then you walked into trading, with real money, with your ego exposed, with fear running through your nervous system. And suddenly the only structure that exists is the one you create and enforce on yourself. What happens? Most people collapse. Not because they're weak, because they were never trained for this. And nobody is. I wasn't failing because I lacked knowledge. I was failing because I was trying to operate in an unstructured environment using a brain built entirely for structured ones. My brain kept insisting that if I worked harder, results should improve. That if I was right about the direction, I should make money. That a loss meant something had gone wrong. None of those things are true in the market. But my brain didn't know that. And so it kept dragging me back to the behaviors that made perfect sense everywhere else in life, and destroyed me here in the financial market. Now let me tell you about the belief that cost me more than anything else. The one I see running quietly in the background of almost every struggling trader I've ever worked with. The belief that being right matters. I don't mean being right in a simple sense. I'm talking about the deep psychological need to be right, the one that runs subconsciously in every human, the one that makes you hold a losing trade just a little longer, because closing it means admitting you were wrong, the one that makes you add to a position going against you, because you're so convinced your analysis was correct that you'd rather risk more money than accept what the market is telling you. When I was at Merrill Lynch, my entire identity was built on being smart, being the person in the room who understood what was happening. And when I started trading my own account, I brought that identity with me. Every trade I placed was a statement about my intelligence. And when the market disagreed with me, I couldn't accept it. So I'd hold. I'd give it more room. I'd convince myself the market was wrong and I was right. The position would go further against me. And further. Until the loss was so large I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I'd finally close it. Not because I made a decision, but because the pain became unbearable. Then I'd sit there watching the market reverse. And I kept blaming the market or my strategy, thinking if I could find a better strategy, I'd stop losing my hard-earned money. But here is what I finally understood about that cycle. The market is never wrong. I mean that in a very specific way. Whatever the current price is, right now, at this exact moment, that is the truth. It is the combined expression of every participant's action right now. Your opinion about where it should go, is not the truth. It is a probability, an educated guess. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it isn't, and the market owes you no explanation either way. The trader who truly understands this stops fighting price. They let price tell them when they're wrong. They accept it without drama. They don't need the market to validate their intelligence. They just need to execute their edge over a large sample of trades and let probability do the rest. That shift, from needing to be right on a single trade to being willing to execute your edge consistently without minding the outcome of each individual trade, is worth more than any strategy you will ever find. Everything you do at the chart is filtered through your belief system. The assumptions you hold, mostly unconsciously, about what trading is, what losses mean, what winning means, what you deserve, what you're capable of. And here's the brutal part. Most of those beliefs were formed before you ever placed your first trade. They were installed in you by your upbringing, by school, by the society. And they are almost completely incompatible with how financial markets actually work. Society taught you that effort produces reward. Work hard, get paid, put in the hours, see the results. In most areas of life, that's mostly true. In the market, it's a trap. You can do everything right, study for hours, analyze perfectly, wait patiently for your setup, manage your risk correctly, and still lose. Not because you did anything wrong, because the market is a game of probability, not a game of reward for effort. Losses are not mistakes. They are part of the process. They are the cost of participation. And until you genuinely believe that, not intellectually, but subconsciously, you will keep treating every loss as evidence that you failed. But in trading, being wrong is constant. Even the best traders in the world are wrong 40 to 60% of the time. The difference is they don't care, because they've rewired their belief system. Being wrong on a trade doesn't mean they're not good enough. It just means probability produced an outcome that didn't favor them this time. That's all. They note it, move on, take the next trade with the same system. After several years of struggling in my trading career, I finally realized that my beliefs were the cause of the problems I was facing in trading. So I started writing my beliefs down, actually putting them on paper, then asking one question against each one. Does this belief help me in the market, or does it hurt me? Things like, I believe losses mean I did something wrong. I believe if I analyze hard enough, I can predict what price will do. I believe a winning streak means I've figured it out. Every single one of those beliefs that felt completely natural, was destroying my trading, because none of them are compatible with how markets actually work. The real work of becoming a consistently profitable trader is not finding a better strategy. It's rebuilding your belief system from the ground up to match the reality of a probability-based and a completely neutral environment. Most traders never do this work because it's uncomfortable, because it means looking honestly at the beliefs you've been operating from and being willing to let go of the ones that no longer serve you. That's the real work, the kind that doesn't show up on a chart. Here is the deepest misunderstanding I see in struggling traders. They think profitability is about finding the right strategy. They are wrong. Profitability in trading is first a state of mind before it is ever a state of account. I've seen traders with mediocre strategies produce consistent results because their psychology was aligned with the reality of the financial market. And I've seen traders with excellent strategies blow up account after account because their psychology was not aligned with how the financial market actually works. The strategy isn't the variable. You are the variable. Here's what psychological alignment actually means. When what you consciously intend to do and what your nervous system actually believes are pointing in the same direction. Discipline stops being a struggle. It becomes automatic. You follow your rules not because you're forcing yourself, but because your beliefs make rule following the obvious thing to do. But when they are in conflict, when you say you want to follow your rules, but somewhere deep down you believe losses make you a failure, or you believe you need to recover yesterday's losses before you can feel okay, you will break your rules. Every single time the pressure gets high enough. Not because you're weak, because you're human. Your nervous system will always beat your willpower in the long run. This is why willpower-based discipline doesn't work. I depended on willpower for years. It failed me every time the stakes were high enough. Because willpower is finite. It runs out, especially when real money is on the line and the account has been down for a few days or week. The only thing that actually works is change in your beliefs. I mean, genuinely updating what you believe about losses, about being wrong, about uncertainty. When those beliefs are up to date, the behaviors follows naturally, without force, without struggle. Here is what I started doing differently. That completely changed my trading career after years of struggle. Firstly, I stopped measuring myself trade by trade. Every time you evaluate yourself after a single trade, did I win? Did I lose? Was I right? Was I wrong? You are giving one random outcome the power to define you. That's exactly how revenge trading starts. That's exactly how you end up overtrading after a loss. Start thinking in batches. 20 trades, 50 trades, 100 trades. Ask yourself only this. Over a large sample, does my edge show up? One trade tells you nothing. A large enough sample trades tells you everything. When individual losses stop carrying meaning, they stop triggering the emotional spiral that destroys your trading sessions. Secondly, I started writing down my beliefs and auditing them. Get a notebook. Write down every belief you hold about the market, about losses, about what being wrong means about you. Then ask one question against each one. Is this belief compatible with how the markets actually works? If it isn't, if it belongs to a reward for effort environment that the market simply doesn't operate in, start replacing it deliberately. Write down the new beliefs. Say it out loud to yourself before starting each trading session. Slowly, through repetition, your internal conflict starts to decrease. Thirdly, I redefined what success meant to me in each trading session. This is the one most traders resist most. Success is not profit. If you define success as profit, you are defining success as something you cannot control. And chasing things you cannot control produces desperate, emotional, rule-breaking behavior. Every single time. Redefine success as execution. Did I follow my rules on every trade today? Did I take only the setups that qualified? Did I exit according to my plan? A session where you followed your rules perfectly and lost money is a good session. A session where you made money by breaking your rules is a dangerous session. Because broken rules compound into blown accounts. But disciplined execution, even when it loses, builds the psychological foundation that everything else stands on. The fourth thing I started doing is taking full responsibility, with no exceptions. This is the one nobody wants to hear. I avoided it for years. You have to stop blaming the market. Stop blaming your broker. Stop blaming the news, manipulation, the institutions, your decisions, your reactions, your beliefs, your behavior. As long as any part of you believes the problem is out there, you've given away your power to fix it. You cannot fix something that's outside you. You can only fix what's inside. The moment you accept complete responsibility, and I mean complete, without exceptions. You gain access to the only thing that actually produces change: yourself. If you apply what I've described, consistently and religiously, here is what begins to happen. In the beginning, it feels unnatural and slow. You'll sit on your hands during sessions when the old version of you would have been all over the chart. You'll miss trades because your setup didn't quite qualify. It will feel like nothing is happening. But something is happening underneath the surface that you can't see yet. Your nervous system is learning. Through repetition, through the actual experience of taking disciplined action under pressure, your brain is building new patterns. The pull to revenge trade after a loss starts to feel less urgent. The urge to hold a loser just a little longer starts to lose its grip. The fear that freezes your hand at the entry starts to quiet down. You don't become fearless. Fear doesn't disappear, but it stops running the show. And over time, over hundreds of trades, your results stabilize. Not because the market changed, because you changed. Because you rebuilt from the inside the mental and emotional foundation that profitability actually requires. The traders who are still trading profitably 5, 10, 20 years from now are not the ones who found the best strategy. They're the ones who did this internal work, who looked honestly at their beliefs, who accepted responsibility, who stopped needing to be right and started needing to be disciplined. That path is available to you. It was available to me, even when I was losing accounts more than I care to count. The market gives everyone the same opportunity, not to predict, to execute, to manage yourself so completely that the randomness of individual outcomes stops defining you. Most traders spend years looking past this. Don't be like most traders.